to our podcast, the Search Laboratory podcast, all about B2B marketing, one of my favorite topics, because we do it ourselves. We do B2B marketing ourselves, and we help a lot of clients with B2B marketing challenges. And there's a whole set of challenges unique to the B2B world, which I'm sure we'll come to. But I'll just introduce everybody to start with. So we've got Heidrun from Pipedrive, the CMO from Pipedrive, who is one of our guests today. We've got David Enwright, Marketing Director at the Post Office. Hi, David. We've got Lacey Wiggins, who is our EVP Americas, so she's from Search Lab. And also David Howlett, who is our data solutions architect, so heavily involved in data solutions around marketing, B2B and B2C. In fact, if everyone could just say hello and just give us a little bit about what they do and how they do it. So I'll hand over to you first, Heidrun, if that's okay.
Super, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I'm Heidrun, Chief Marketing Officer at Pipedrive. Pipedrive is a sales CRM that helps companies, small businesses, medium-sized businesses achieve their best performance. We were founded in 2010 by salespeople, so we really know our stuff in the sales environment, and we really know firsthand what the pains are that professionals encounter during that sales process. And so therefore developing a technology that really kind of powers that, sales cycle, with all of the right moments of action to achieve, for small businesses, their business success. That's what gets us out of bed in the morning. And so, really excited to be here and chat a little bit about B2B marketing.
Perfect, thank you. And David.
Oh, thanks, Ian. As Heidrun said, I'm absolutely delighted to be for being asked to sort of participate in your podcast about this really important subject of B2B and what businesses and issues businesses are facing at the moment. So as you've introduced me, I'm David Enwright. I'm the marketing director for Post Office. I think most people will know who the Post Office are. I'm sure most of the people on this call have probably used a post office in the past year. And we're a 400-year-old company. Wow. And the breadth and depth of the propositions we have to serve both consumers and businesses range from what predominantly most people will know us as handling your ASOS returns or your Etsy returns and so on, to things like travel insurance, as well as banking for small businesses as well. So a breadth of propositions appealing to different audiences.
Perfect. Okay, thanks, David. And then Lacey over in Texas.
Live from Texas. Yes, hi. Thanks, Ian. Yeah, I'm Lacey. I run the US side of the Search Lab operation, and basically here to kind of learn a little bit more about what you guys are experiencing from the B2B side. As Ian said earlier, the US, I would say about 75% of our clients are B2B. We do a lot of really fun, creative things with B2B. And so, really excited to be here and learn more about you guys. And it's great to meet you.
Thanks, Lacey. And last but not least, David.
Hi, everyone. So I'm a data solutions architect at Search Laboratory. Essentially, what that boils down to is understanding the business goals that you might be facing, that you're trying to drive forward within the business, understanding your data infrastructure, and building solutions that marry the two together. And from a marketing perspective, that typically means driving those business goals all the way down into the channels and how you're optimizing them.
Good, perfect. So that's everybody. So if we're going to dive straight in, B2B challenges or any challenges in marketing that you're facing right now. What's your world like right now, Heidrun?
It's full. It's full of opportunities within the uncertainty, and I think to put in a nutshell what my challenge is to really make everybody focus this year on who the customer is and the customer need. And simply because, as I said, there's so much going on in the world, so much change, so much uncertainty, a lot of flex, that it is now more important than ever before to really say, okay, let's come kind of back to basics. Like, who are we for? What are we here to do for that customer? And then everything points to that. And that goes beyond marketing, right? Marketing is kind of the orchestrator of it all, but it really means that the product is aligned with the customer need and really goes through it, that the service element around it is there, and then marketing brings it together in the right brand positioning, really getting that awareness push out there so that the consumer actually knows where to go, where is their need best supported. And then bring it back to the entire customer journey, using lots of data to understand, the consumer intent, the buyer's journey, and then getting everybody through that. And at every point, really trying to meet that, experience, need, and delight. So I think the challenge here is there's already a lot I've just said in the one sentence, but it boils down to making everybody focus in the kind of many points that have to be served. I think that's my challenge.
And you talk about the uncertainty in the world. Has it got harder to sell to people during this uncertainty? Is that what's happened? Is that what you've seen?
I think there are actually 2 points to it. I think customers out there, talking Pipedrive, we are serving the small and medium-sized businesses out there that want to grow.
Yeah.
The macroeconomic climate has put pressure on them. And so, equally to, how I talk about my challenge is to make sure we are focusing, they are now focusing on what's important, how can they truly drive their business, what needs to go, what is kind of a nice to have, and what is actually ultimately driving growth. And so this is where I'm so excited. On the one hand, yes, there's pressure. On the other hand, there's actually opportunity, because now comes really the time of digitalization, right? Kind of becoming more effective and efficient through the technology, and really kind of adopting the technology and making it part of your process. And so this is where the opportunity lies, for a business such as Pipedrive to say, hey, we got the solution for you, right? Come and join, and let us help you grow your business. So it is pressure as well as opportunity at the same time.
Yeah, the very issues that you're facing are actually what you're solving for other people.
Correct.
Is where you're at. All right, interesting. Thanks for that, David. What's the world like for you right now?
Yeah, no, I was just reflecting on what Heidrun was saying, actually, and we've got some, similar sort of challenges and opportunities, and I think probably what we've always sort of focused on is, COVID. When COVID hit, it really materially impacted our business through obviously changing customer behavior as people responded to that, and we've come out of COVID to some degree into economic economic challenges that are impacting every business, putting pressure on their pricing, putting pressure on their supply chain, especially with the war in Ukraine, the terrible war in Ukraine at the moment. So that is having a material impact on the businesses that we support, and at the post office we support businesses of all different shapes and sizes, from people who are selling making and selling items online, to larger businesses who are looking at increasing wage bills and things like that. That what we're seeing is obviously that in some cases businesses are looking at tactical sort of initiatives to meet those challenges, to survive, and sometimes obviously not necessarily focusing on that longer term view, which in the B2B marketing world means that our focus starts to shift more towards acquisition, i.e. Can we acquire more customers, more businesses, and less so on retaining, and less so on our existing customer base. So our challenge is making sure that and this ties to what Heidrun was saying, we're really focused on our customers, what their needs are, and how we best support them throughout the end-to-end customer journey, from everything from onboarding through to driving customer loyalty through incentive programs to giving value back to businesses where we can, and it's managing and it might sound easier than what it is, but it's managing that complexity, and managing that end-to-end journey, which is the challenge, I think, to a lot of voices, a lot of decision makers, all perhaps all looking at different parts of that journey, and the aim, our challenge is to just make sure that's all pulled together and is really seamless in its execution.
Okay, so the theme emerging is acquisition of new customers for both of you, which is tough, but the really getting to know who you're trying to acquire and I suppose do that smarter, and we'll come on to how you do that and what some of the answers are. But is that David? I'll come to you first. Is that the sort of thing that we're seeing? What projects are you getting involved with, and what problems are you seeing from customers in the B2B world?
Yeah, that's definitely the case where we've seen a big shift towards sort of acquisition, that the getting those new customers in being the key thing. And what we often find from a marketing perspective is the key thing for us is that when you are acquiring new customers, often more than one stakeholder involved. Pretty much for anything to B2B, there's almost always another stakeholder, and that actually results in a really bad user journey that we're trying to track. So maybe you've had two different people come to the website, one of them filled in a form, one of them picked up the phone, for instance. At the time of optimizing your media, you don't know that they're the same person. So a big part of what we do is we join that together, we dedupe it, and then we try and make sense of that data and push through the correct values back into our marketing channels. And the whole reason we're doing that really is so that we can acquire people at the right price in the first place.
Right. Okay. And Lacey, how are things over there? What's the sort of business mood over there, and what challenges are you seeing?
We're definitely seeing a shift to audience first strategy, really identifying these users, doing a ton of research to figure out where they are. One challenge is just in general, the pool of decision makers are starting to become made up more and more of the millennial generation, and they process their news and their data in a completely different way. And as we start to see that shift, it's really trying to figure out where they are and how to get to them. And so you look at the audience first strategy or approach, and it impacts the content that we're putting out there, the call to action. And so it's been challenging, but it has been so much fun trying to figure it out. But at the same time, what we're looking at in terms of finding that buyer, the decision influencer versus decision maker, it does come down to that data. And so we rely heavily on what David's doing and his team. But it's definitely a trend that I guess global. Who knew?
Yeah. So the audience first. Was that not the case from the start? What's changed? What's changed in all of this? Is it just the economy's made it more important? We can't spray and pray anymore?
Yeah, I think so. I think that has a lot to do with it. 4 or 5 years ago, it was very solution driven, solution first, looking for people who need certain things, certain solutions or platforms in place to really get their job done. I think a big piece of it has to do with the fact that it seems like the market is more and more competitive. And so you can't just go out there and put a paid media strategy out there because all of your competitors are doing the same thing. And so you're just not getting that that traction that we used to do. So you've got to completely take a step back and look at the audience in general. And as was mentioned earlier, there are so many players in the journey that you've got to find things that appeal to each one. So it's definitely more of a bespoke approach.
I think, Ian, nothing has changed as such. Like a marketer's job is to understand their audience and then, you know, go after them with right message, you know, right time, right place, etc. Nothing on that has changed, but I think the opportunities to do that have just become, you know, so much more complex. You know, like what data you can get your hands on today, how you then start stitching the data together, the insight you then create, and then how you activate that insight into an actual real action to drive through the various go-to-marketing teams, breaking silos down, right? It's not just marketing in one corner, sales in another, success in the third. It's coming together because the customer journey and the customer need is a very horizontal need. You know, it's not a vertical kind of business structure play. So it's bringing this together within the opportunity that there is. So the game is the same, but there's just more to go after in, you know, in different ways. And that's just that to Lacey's point, right? It's challenging, and at the same time, it's exciting and fun. Yeah,
I've always found this area, I think it's my favorite, really. Just don't tell anyone that, but the challenges are immense, and therefore you've got to get clever. And maybe I mean, I'm making this up, but maybe there's two things happen. The economy and everything has forced us, but also the tools are there and techniques are sort of coming together in order to get more clever. You know, we can do that. But I mean, with all this, we've got to track people, and that's getting worse. So that are we not hampered at the same time, and therefore forced to spray and pray a bit more?
Yeah, tracking's been a big thing. I mean, sort of, and that's really where that multiple stakeholder thing comes from in particular, is that even a singular person now looks like multiple stakeholders just because their user journey is so broken. And what we found more and more is that user journey is extending. In some cases, in many B2B industries, you're talking maybe 9 months for a sale. And there's a lot of people that have an influence on that person throughout that sales journey. And it's about understanding when this person interacts after this series of events, it increases the value by 10%, 20%, whatever it is, or maybe it decreases. And what we're finding more and more as a business is it brings us need to centralize your data, to get it all in one place, to get it working together, and to, in some cases, fight against business structures where they do have a really siloed approach. You've got one team that's all about your CRM, you've got another team that's all about your PPC or your digital marketing in general. And they're not actually working off the same data sets. They're not targeting the same audiences, valuing people the same way. And that's really where, we look to make big improvements there and drive innovation through technology.
Okay.
And I would just build on that. I mean, the challenge is where you're trying to stitch, what you would stereotypically say is the transactions that are happening face to face in the offline world with the online world, and that complexity against that buyer journey, so it's, and to your point, I think, David, he's saying if that buyer journey can take, in our case, sometimes it can take a year, for ourselves to procure something, because we're a public company, so we have to go through public procurement. There are regulations that are also as a buyer we have to go through. But that takes different channels, different people involved, and the only way as a marketer you can understand that is by having that data in one place, so that you can understand all of those interactions and where necessary, start collecting the data that is important for you to be able to deliver the right solution at the end of the day, so because there is this complexity. I've talked about this a few weeks ago, actually. I think we got a bit lazy as well where we just thought there was so much data, which was like, well, we'll just get all of it without having the skill set to then be able to say, well, what data is important, how am I going to use that, how is that, and will that make a difference? And I think that's where we went to one extreme, and we're going backwards to say, well, actually, the importance of collecting first party data and really knowing your customer and knowing your business has always existed. It's just we've overcomplicated it because of this plethora of data that we could get access to. So I don't know if I'm trying to get my point across. Be really singular-minded in the type of data and the data you need, and in order to drive the right outcomes for the consumer, not necessarily always for the business.
David, I love that approach, and I absolutely echo it. Right? It's again like all back to what is the customer actually ultimately trying to achieve. That's your goal, right? And all data the right data needs to point to it. And I think the important bit is because to your point, David, you've just made, we basically have too much data, right? Too much information, and then you can kind of get overwhelmed and lost in it. You have to kind of scale back and say what's the important bit, but also not only go with the quantitative element, but also the qualitative element, right? Because that ultimately builds the customer need picture, and it allows the marketers behind the scenes, the salespeople behind the scene, the customer success guys behind the scene, to really go, okay, I now got a black and white, number data point, but I also have this qualitative information that enhances it, and I now have a full picture so that I can actually now take an action, based on the insight. So love the point you've just made.
How do we do this then? Are we just throwing all data into some data warehouse and then segmenting it? Or David, I mean, you have such a complex situation, because you almost everyone is your consumer, whether they're actually a consumer or they're a B2B, from small companies to large companies. I mean, you have that much data. How are you even approaching this?
Well, being as I say, a bit more singular minded. So I mean, post office, and I'm sure most businesses will have a customer database. It just gets built, it builds up over time, especially established businesses, and they become quite unwieldy and costly at the end of the day. So we talk about data wastage, and we talk about constantly having to hygiene data because people move on, so you've got to cleanse all that data. Mm-hmm. So our view is we only collect the data that we know we will use, we will drive insight from, and we will use that to develop either the customer proposition, the next best, helps us drive the next best conversation, etc. Because ultimately we're really highly regulated as well. So it's becoming, I think, if I'm articulating myself, being really singular minded, collecting the data that we know we are going to use, and of course storing that in a place which is safe, and that people can have access to, not necessarily all having access to the customer database, but through the tools, through other software and applications that tie into that data. But they're all using the same source of data, irrespective of the tool that they're using to access it.
Okay. So we get all this data, Heidrun. You've got, you're gathering it all. What are you using to? Do you have a BI team, or what are you using to surface all this stuff, surface the right stuff, and then action?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. What David, just picking up that point, like I was joking the other day, the 3 C's, normally talk about, your customer, the competitors, your own company. From the data side, it's now clean data, compliant data, and connected data. So as you have those, you need the right people and processes around them. And that is very much, so in the case of Pipedrive, we have a data engineering team that makes sure 24/7 that the data is clean and compliant and connected. And so that basically this and the data governance is around it, so that the foundation is there. But then from there you need teams, and we have that across every business function, of data analysts and data insight generators, right? Because the raw data isn't telling me a story, it's just giving me a number that is either red or green, but I need to understand the why behind it, so that with the specialist teams that can execute connected, we can get to the so what. So it's this, you know, 3 pillars of, I need the data engineers to make sure the data foundation is there, clean, compliant, connected. I need the data analysts to find the why behind the data, therefore the insight. And I then need my specialists in marketing, sales, customer success, and support connected with that to understand, well, based on this insight, this is now the so what we're driving. And quite often in a test and learn approach, right? Because whilst the data is giving us high confidence, it doesn't necessarily mean, and the outcome is now 100% sure. So the test and learn approach that, you know, with the data driving a hypothesis that can then be tested, and the outcome therefore is even of a higher confidence level. That's the kind of approach we're taking at Pipedrive.
Okay, so I mean, the data tells us what's happening, and maybe we learn about who our customers are and who they should be, and who we should be targeting, so we can target them better and remarket to them better. And we need to then find new ones that are like those people. Is that the sort of crux of the challenge that we're trying to achieve? We're trying to maximize the probability of the ones that we've touched before buying from us, but also finding people like them to come into the pipeline.
Yeah, I think it's at the end of the day, a business can only operate if you take good care of your existing customer base, right, and help them evolve with you. And at the same time, yes, right, assuming these are the right type of customers for your business, the right product to audience fit, you then want to find more of those customers out there. But understanding that in the out there are 2 groups of customers. They're the already in market customers, and that's where your performance marketing kind of goes into the heavy targeting. But at the same time, there's the buyer of tomorrow, not ready today. They don't even know potentially today that, you know, they might become the buyer, but getting them ready. So setting the right positioning piece, right? Getting your promise out there, giving the proof points, you know, for your promise, so that the buyer of tomorrow is starting to get ready. So it's this 3 piece: take care of your existing customers, use the information you have on them to then get more lookalike customers that are ready in the buying today, but at the same time kind of already sow the seed for tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, so this is the crux of it. Then how do we do that, and how has that changed? Finding new customers is hard. You know, it's hard for everybody. What's at our disposal now? Maybe Lacey, because you work with a lot of B2B clients, big clients. What's the sort of solutions? What do we do now to make this better?
I mean, I think that we're really lucky that platforms are advancing in their targeting capabilities. I think that's been the saving grace, and they're getting smarter and smarter. And we've developed partnerships with third-party platforms to help us find people that literally look alike the ones that have converted. You know, we can localize the messaging based off of job titles and different industry sectors and things like that now, that have made finding these people and putting the right information in front of these people, I'm not going to say easy, because it's not, but it is doable, and it's kind of given us an opportunity for a lot of A/B testing. That's what we do all day, every day. Again, you need to have a good grasp on the data to really see what's working and what's not working. But I would definitely say the saving grace has been the capabilities out there, and just trying to figure out a way to get creative with it. We have a partner here in Austin that they use mobile data for us to hone in on the geographical down to the block on the street of exactly who we want to target. We can serve display ads to whoever was at this address from this to this, and it's given us the opportunity to really hone in on key headquarters and businesses, logos that we really want to target, or take advantage of conferences and trade shows. And so just an example of some of the technology there that are allowing us to really be able to do our job. And then, just trying to figure out that data for us to understand, is it worth targeting this audience or the next? Or should we put something more informative, long form type content in front of the influencers who really want to know and understand the ins and outs of the product that we're selling, so that they could look really great to their upper management to make the decisions. So yeah, it again, challenge, but it's possible. And there's more and more coming out every single day. Every single article I read, there's a brand new something that makes it a little bit more possible, I guess, another avenue to get to those people.
Yeah, I always think that as time goes on, data privacy, cookies, everything is taking that stuff away from us. What you're saying is actually, as fast as that's happening, technology is sort of plugging the gaps.
Right, exactly.
And driving it helping us more. What are you seeing, David, Search Lab David? I mean, in terms of solutions for targeting people, how's things in your world? I always think, oh God, another as privacy closes in, where's all this going? I know AI sort of fills holes. Where's it all going?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the power of machine learning is really unlocked huge doors for us now. Well, I often think that sort of if you go to a car showroom, for instance, and you took a car salesman, maybe they've got 10 people meandering about, they've spoken to a few of them, they understand some behaviors, some insights about those people. What we're looking to do is build that car salesman, right? They can say, well, actually, if you made me pick 3 people in here that are probably worth the most, I picked these 3 because that one's had a test drive, that one's looking at a car at that spec, for instance, that one comes in every Saturday. And that's what we're using machine learning to do. We're essentially taking a car salesman who understands all these actions, these behaviors that an individual is exhibiting, because everyone exhibits different behaviors whenever you engage with a brand, whether or not it's how you're engaging, what time of day, what products you're looking at on the website, etc. You're giving valuable information. And we're training a model that acts like that car salesman that says, well, there's a 20% chance that this person's going to be worth X. And when it comes to a business saying, I need to acquire new people, the first question I would ask is, well, do you know the value of a new person? Do you know how that value changes when we segment them based on different products they purchase or different times of year? Or actually, when it takes 6 months extra for them to purchase, they're typically worth 5 times more, that sort of thing. So it's about starting with a singular question of, well, how much is someone worth, and then starting to break them down into various segmentations. And that's ultimately where machine learning comes in for us.
And all of this, so someone comes to the website, or maybe multiple people from the same company visit the website. You spot that, you tie all that together, and then you're marketing to those people, and in other words, you're upping your perceived value or your estimated value of those people, and then you're marketing to them differently than you would someone of low value or someone you've never seen before. But are they not, with data and privacy, are you not getting cut off at the knees because you can't either tie these journeys together, or indeed when you've identified someone, you've still got to get to them when maybe they haven't exposed themselves to you yet?
Yeah, that's definitely the hard part that we have to work around. So the first thing is about centralization of data. Someone's journey will be broken up almost always, but if we've identified them in one place, maybe on a completely different device, they've then identified themselves again somewhere else, we join that up and we push it back through into platforms like GA4, and we say, this is this person's expected future value based on everything we know. These are the touch points they've had so far that we've been able to join. And what we're really doing is we're using machine learning to fill in the blanks, right? You're never going to get every single touch point that someone's had. But if you've got millions and millions of people, you can extrapolate their value, their average values across them based on the ways you're segmenting that data, if that makes sense. And
yeah. I mean, that does make sense, that machine learning can fill in a gap and say, this person looks like one of these, and therefore we reckon they're worth this, or they've got a probability of buying of this. But we've still got to get to them, and
Yes.
I suppose they've identified themselves. So we've had some touch points. So we're going to get more touch points and join them. And then what you're saying, we're going to hit them with a stronger message or a different message, or
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we've essentially scored everyone, right? And we've bucketed them into their various behaviors. And we're going to push that data back through into all the platforms now so that we can say, actually, this particular keyword that you're bidding on typically drives this kind of person. And when they come through and we bucket them, well, now they're in an audience, we're going to target them slightly differently with a different message, or we're going to be really aggressive whenever they type anything into Google, because we know they're going to be of a lot of value, if that makes sense. It's about, you often see insights teams producing reports that then get put in front of you, but they're not as actionable as they could be because they're not within the platforms themselves that you're optimizing towards. So that's the number one thing we do to make our data actionable, is make sure we get it back into those platforms.
Yeah, okay. And the platforms do this. The platforms are advanced enough to do this, to target these people if we can give them the cookie or whatever, whatever identifier we've got. Where's it all going then? Because AI, or I mean, it may not be AI. It might be the further restrictions due to privacy. But where's it going? What's happening? What's going to happen in the future? I always think we're at a turning point, but I just think we're at a major turning point now. With what AI and machine learning is going to do for us. I wish I knew what that would look like in the future, but what are we excited about, or what keeps us up at night about where it's going? Maybe David, post office.
I knew you were going. But there's so many different use cases for AI, isn't there? I mean, it can be from anything from helping us to automate content production, so in the complexities of the complexities of the marketing world, where you're probably producing very, numerous communications, you can use AI just to automate the production of a white paper, saving huge amounts of time, to, as we say, augmenting data sets as well. But my point is, you've got to be really clear on the use cases, because it's for all different businesses, there's different use cases. But for us at the moment, it's more around, certainly in my world, around more sort of production capabilities than anything else.
Right. Okay. And Heidrun, what keeps you awake at night for the future, or indeed, is the big exciting thing? Where's it going?
I think the excitement is to, I think, bring together what data, technology, and now kind of the filter of AI and machine learning brings, like using that as enablers, because that's what they are, no more than that, and connecting them with the realness. I think what I'm excited about is actually saying, cool, I have super powerful enablers, but my game in town with my teams, right, is to go, I have a real customer, and we are real people behind the scenes driving the processes. So marrying the kind of technology, data, AI, etc., with the realness of it all. Because at the end of the day, we have all real needs. We have real businesses to drive, and we want to, kind of come together in realness, but enhance through what everything else can provide us with. So to me, this is super exciting, because I think in the past we were at times so immersed in just making the technology work, or just getting the data together, right? Now things have advanced to such a level that it's actually now flowing, and it can really enable you to take it to the next level. And I'm just super excited about that.
I mean, I think in your, like you said, clean, you want your data to be clean, compliant, and connected, and you get all those things together, and you have a nice data set, as David's aiming to do as well, is to have a full data set that's not noisy, is compliant, hasn't got, it's, you haven't got data in there that's superfluous, that isn't required. AI, the thing that AI brings to computing, which it never has before, is pattern recognition. That humans could always do it and machines couldn't. Pattern recognition, and I just think that's the conundrum that we're trying to solve as marketers. And if we get this right, we'll I wouldn't say the machines will do it for us, but they'll certainly tune it much better. And David Search Labs, I know we've been using AI for quite some time to do that pattern recognition bit. I mean, that's surely going to explode now. That like the car sales example, that's not an algorithm that does that. That is someone looking and saying, I think that person's going to buy a car because they seem to be behaving that way, or that they've got more chance of buying a car than this other person over here. That is pattern recognition. That is AI.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing that's so powerful about it is the granularity that it makes those decisions on now, right? Previously, when you see things like econometric modeling, for example, it's we ran these TV ads this month, or we pushed out these brochures, or whatever it is, and it's a very large average that you have to extrapolate a value out of. And whereas when it comes down to using AI and machine learning, it's saying, well, you're an individual, but I bet I can find 10,000 people that look just like you. And because of what they went on to do on a horizon of 1, 2, 3, 4 years, I can put a value on you. And that's obviously very different. We still have the issue of when it comes to above the line advertising, there is still that massive disconnect. But I actually see AI probably being the one that also solves that moving forwards as well, to some degree, being a lot smarter with how we're aggregating that data when we make those decisions.
Yeah. Lacey, are clients asking us about what we're doing with AI? What's next? What should we be doing? Are they as sort of excited about it as I am?
Yeah, I mean, excited. Yeah.
Not quite.
It depends on
you
the
weirdo.
client, honestly.
Yeah.
No, I think they understand. Whenever I'm talking to a client, I just use the analogy of the shovel that, AI is not there to replace us. If a shovel's there and you're digging a hole, you're going to use it, but you're not going to. The shovel itself isn't going to know where to start to dig. Is basically just a general, very elementary type analogy that I use when people are asking about it, whether or not we're concerned. I don't think anybody, as you said, AI, this isn't new. Machine learning, Google's been using that for automated bidding and things like that forever. It's just given us an opportunity to be smarter about it. But I know that it's such a hot topic right now, and webinars and podcasts and all of these people talking about AI, ChatGPT. I mean, it's insane how trendy it is to talk about now. And so of course they're asking, what is it? How is it going to affect us? Should we be concerned? Especially the SaaS clients, the software as a service clients are their ears are perked a little higher than the others, for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's because you've talked there about concern about the technology as opposed to the excitement of what we do with it.
Right.
It's sort of getting to know it, isn't it? How to use it best.
Yeah.
But it's like what you were saying, to build on it. It's like people are thinking, oh, is this machine going to replace the need for me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And whereas actually we're building, human nature, we're building things that make our jobs easier. Yeah. So we're constantly looking to make our jobs easier, to the point where, this is not new, as Lacey was saying, it's been in existence for a while. But my point really being, again, was be really clear on the use case for your specific business.
Correct.
Because it's matched to your people than it is, if you don't have people to help implement and to use it and to, leverage it.
Exactly.
You can't
That's
invest
exactly,
it. You
yeah.
can't invest in it because there's nobody going to, it's not going to make any difference.
Yeah. So that's what I meant, right? My excitement now is the times of investing so much energy and people knowledge into how to make things work, be it tech, data, or in that case AI. I think we've now taken the next level to actually, hey, this is working. We can make it, we can use it now. And so now comes it back to I can actually focus on the real stuff. Like I can now add creativity to it and make the AI, make the data, make all of the tech work for me, so that my teams feel actually enabled, empowered, and take it to the next level. And so that's ultimately, the newness in 2023.
Yeah. I think, understanding the technology and then optimally using it is what we've always done. But that first thing of understanding what it can do is quite difficult with AI, because it's such a new tool set, and I think that's where the fear comes from. People, because with Lacey's analogy of, you've got a shovel, you need to show it where to point it. I mean, AI can often tell you where to point it as well. This is the I suppose the exciting bit, but also could be frightening bit of the whole thing. We need a podcast on AI, don't we? AI use in marketing, because that's changing all the time. I think we've probably run out of time. So we could go on forever. Thank you very much, Heidrun, David, and Lacey. So yeah, we've been Search Laboratory. If there's anything that you need, please get in touch. But thanks to everyone for listening, and thanks to our guests.